Hello and welcome to the QuadCast. I'm the founder and host, John McAlevey. This podcast, while mainly for and about folks like me who have had their lives affected by a spinal cord injury, is really for anyone who just wants to be inspired. In this space, I speak with individuals who have had life-changing injuries and accidents, and yet in spite of insurmountable odds in many cases, have gone on to do amazing things with those lives. I'm reminded of the old metaphor that when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Well, my guests, they take those lemons and roll right over them with their wheelchairs and rollators on their journey. I'd like to thank you for lending me your ears for another session of OT and PT for the soul. So, what do you say we get this show on the road? And Richie Redsicker, thank you so much for joining me today on the QuadCast. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, John. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, this is a really cool episode because I have to tell you, you are the first guest that I've had that's actually reached out to me. So it's nice that to know that some people are actually listening to my shows. It's not just my mom and my best friends that are listening to it, but I really appreciate your listening over the years and for reaching out. And so as a frequent flyer here on the QP, you'll know that I like to start my shows at the beginning. So why don't you tell us, Richie, where did you grow up and what were some things you were interested in your youth?
Well, I grew up in the upstate New York area, all kind of farmland between the Ithaca, Binghamton areas. It wasn't the technology era, so we did a lot of fishing, we did a lot of hiking. We just kicked through the streams and found whatever we could, and we played a lot of sports.
Yeah, I saw that was a big thing in your life. And so when you say you played a lot of sports, what were your favorite ones? I can remember when I was a kid, I was into it also, and people would tell me, hey, John, what's your favorite sport? And I would have to ask, what time of year is it? And that would sort of dictate what my favorite sport was. So how about you? What were some of your favorites and how far up the line did you go? Did you play all the way up into high school?
Yeah. My top had to be football. That's kind of my guiding sport and what gave me a lot of my drive and my mindset. But I played baseball, played basketball, and I did a lot of road riding with my 18-speed touring bike.
Very cool. Very
Yeah,
cool. And where did you do that? Around the neighborhood or in the back on the fields, in the woods, that sort of thing?
We did some mountain biking, but we also did some long rides. My longest was about an 85-mile trip. It took about 8 hours, and but usually we'd hang out around town a couple times over 20, 30 miles at a time, something in that range.
Mm-hmm. You and the guys in the neighborhood, some of your boys from school?
Yeah, a couple of my buddies who I'm still in contact with, and it was some great memories.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing like old friends, right, Richie? Family and old friends, because the old boys, they know where all the bodies are buried, right?
That's true.
I went to a graduation party this weekend. One of my best buddies who went to the Naval Academy and was flying helicopters in the Navy for a number of years. His son just graduated from high school, and we were kicking around some ideas back from when we were graduating, and it was like, oh boy, it's 40 years ago, but my gosh, it feels like yesterday when we were doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And so
Oh, yes.
I'm right there with you. Now, how about, I know when I got your bio, you were sending me across some stuff piecemeal, a couple of different emails wise. And one thing that came through was that you have sort of had a few brushes with disaster prior to your spinal cord injury. So I know the first one beginning in 8th grade was a dive into your grandparents' pool, I think it was. Tell us about that story.
Yeah, we're being kids. We're goofing around and doing something we'd done 1,000 times before. And I jumped off and I hit the water kind of funny, and it just shot me straight into the bottom of the pool. And it's kind of like when you jam your finger with a basketball.
Yeah.
I just got up. I couldn't move my neck. It hurt a lot. And there was no loss of feeling anywhere, but it was scary as hell.
I can imagine. But you were able to get up and get out of the pool on your own and whatnot. And then you just went to see the doctor because it felt a little crazy back there.
Yeah. I got myself out. Look, my uncle was a paramedic, and he kind of checked me out and thought I looked okay, and got stuff checked out the next day and wore a collar for about a month. And it took about a year for soft tissue to completely feel better.
Wow.
No,
And you continued playing football after that?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it was. That was about a year before we hit the varsity football, so I had some time for
Sure.
that to heal.
Sure. Wow, that's amazing. And I forgot to ask you, what was your position in football? What did what did you excel at?
Primarily inside linebacker,
S-
and I played some offensive tackle.
So you needed that neck to get in there and stop the run, huh?
Yes, definitely.
Gosh, that's unbelievable. And so that was the first sort of brush with disaster, as we said. And the second one, you alluded to it earlier. You and your buddies used to like to go out hunting and fishing. And I guess this one occurred on a frozen lake that wasn't so frozen.
Yeah, it was. This one was actually post accident, so
Oh, okay.
I couldn't swim. I was wearing full Carhartts and winter boots, and we went out there, and the ice was a little funky, and I took a step. It just opened right up. I fell forward and caught myself. My buddy grabbed my shoulder and figured out how to get me up onto the ice. And we had to traverse about 100 yards of cornfield through about 2 feet of snow after that.
Oh, gosh.
But everything came out okay.
Thank goodness. Yeah, you were DOA or something I read in your email. Was it something like that?
No, that was after my accident. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was bad news. Got emergency.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into that now. Let's go back to 1990. You beat me by 2 years. I was injured in 1992. And so why don't you tell us, Richie, what do you remember before, during, and in the immediate aftermath of the motor vehicle accident that you had?
Well, we were having Thanksgiving dinner 2 days late because I played my last Senior Bowl game on Thanksgiving Day. So we planned to have Thanksgiving and we're gonna hunt all day. So we got up there early. We did a lot of hunting, grabbed Thanksgiving dinner, and then it was time. My girlfriend and I left my grandparents, which is about a 2-hour drive. And we
Hmm.
got most of the way back, and they don't know if I had black ice or if an animal came out or what, but hit another car head on. We didn't have airbags at that point. Yeah, and so from there, I don't remember anything until I kind of woke up in the hospital, hearing voices, hearing people praying, a lot of crying,
Mm.
but describing a dream I had, and my mom said that was the guy described as the paramedic who took care of me at the scene. So I don't know if I had some of that memory, but aside from that, though, I don't have a lot. Waking up in ICU.
And how long after was it in right after that, or did you wake up a couple days later?
Uh, I believe it was the next day that I started hearing, as they wouldn't let anybody in the first night. They didn't think I was gonna make it through the night, and they
Mm.
didn't want anybody in there.
How about was anybody else in the car with you?
Yeah, my girlfriend from high school was with me.
And was
She
she
got a
okay?
Yeah, she got relatively unscathed. She had just like a fractured wrist and a couple little things.
Okay.
I took the
Okay.
brunt of it on my side.
Gosh, I can only imagine. Yeah. And so when you finally do come back and come out of it, what did the doctors tell you initially?
Uh, they spoke more to my family members than to me, as you
Hmm.
may have experienced
Yeah.
on your journey.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I heard a lot of it as a nasty fracture. They
Hmm.
were going to fit me for a power wheelchair because they thought there's no chance I'd walk.
Yeah. Basically, you're not going to do anything for the rest of your life, right? You're going to be in this power wheelchair.
Yeah.
Sometimes they give you that, it's like, what do these doctors have? I like to coin the phrase that some of these guys have the bedside manner of a bedpan. They just, they don't want to get your hopes up, but by telling you, yeah, you're going to walk and everything's going to be fine. But sometimes they go the other way and tell you you're not going to be able to do anything.
Yeah. I think it
Yeah,
depends on the personality of
yeah,
the patient.
yeah. I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the episode I did with Torsten Gross. He is the race car driver who he's like a C5 quad. He's got nothing from like the nipples down. And he is like this extreme sports junkie. And I think he was 15 when he had his dive into the ocean. He was on vacation with his mom, and so when he went to rehab, he was, as he told of himself, he said, "I was a smart ass teenager." So when he was in therapy and the doctors said, "You're not going to do X, Y, and Z," he said, "I want you to do me a favor. I want you to write down exactly what I'm not going to be able to do, because after I do them 5 times, I'm going to come back and rub it in your face," kind of a thing. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes they tell us there's really not much we can do. And so, well, these things affect us so much physically. It's our bodies can't do what they used to do all of a sudden. But what people don't realize is how much they affect us mentally. So as a, high school kid, how did you sort of compute this in your mind?
Uh, I don't know if it's being mentally tough from sports that played part of it, being naive. I'm really not sure. When I was in the hospital, in the rehab after, I had one of the sports guys call me on the phone from our local town, asked me how I was doing. And
Hmm.
I told him, I said, well, I should be ready for spring ball. I honestly thought I'd be ready for baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Isn't it amazing how our young minds think? I basically thought the same thing. I thought I was going to go to rehab for a couple weeks and, I'd be right back to picking things up again.
Yep.
I slept through those lessons in high school when they went over spinal cords and spinal cord injuries. You just sort of think you're gonna. I sometimes go out we have a program called Think First, and we go out to local grammar schools and high schools, and we talk about not only spinal cord injury but also TBIs and brain injuries and head injuries and stuff, and we tell the students that there's you're going to break your arm and you can put a cast on it and it's going to come back and it'll be fine. You break your leg, the same thing. But there's two things that when you affect them that will never be the same, and it's your brain and your spinal cord. And so
Mhm.
you and I found out the hard way, I guess, my friend, right?
Yeah, that's quite an ordeal.
It is.
And
So where did you do your rehab, and how long were you in doing inpatient rehab?
uh, I was about 3.5 months maybe up at Strong Memorial Hospital in Rochester.
Okay. And is that far from where you grew up?
That was about a 2-hour drive, I believe.
Okay.
I think Kessler might have been on our list, but the Kessler, the Denver rehab,
Okay. Yep.
but this one
Craig Hospital. Yep.
with proximity
Yeah,
and
it was better because it was closer. It was
yeah.
closer for your family to get to.
Yep, family and my buddies would come up on
Yeah.
weekends sometimes, and
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. How important were family and friends to your rehab?
oh, it was everything.
Mm.
When I was in ICU even, they kind of threw the two-person limit out the window. I had guys from teams from all over the county coming in
Yeah.
just to say hi and see me, and
There's nothing like it, right? I had some people when I rehabbed that had nobody to come to visit them, and I work today. I'm the peer counseling coordinator at Kessler, where I did my rehab. I was lucky. Kessler was 7 miles from where I grew up, so I was really lucky. I had a like a conga line of friends that were in there all the time. They used to come and visit me, Richie. Get this, because you'll be able to understand this. Is that when I did my rehab way back when in '90, most of my PTs and OTs were all young women who were right around my age. I'm sure you probably had similar situations. Mostly women that were in that field or are in that field. So my buddies used to like to come up. They said, "We're going to go visit John. He's living in the sorority house."
yeah, yeah, oh,
I said,
yeah.
"Right?" I said, "Are you guys coming to visit me, or are you coming up here to find some dates? What are we doing here?"
Yeah, oh, yeah, you gotta come up and see the ladies.
Right, right. So that was funny. But yeah, I mean, I can imagine how important the family and friends were to you to kind of keep your spirits up, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah, family was in and out all the time. I think my mom didn't leave the hospital for the first, 30 days. She
Mm,
lived in that. I'm an only child, so it
okay.
was everything, but she'd be there reading the box scores to all the games,
Oh,
anything just to keep the mind in a good
exactly.
place.
In the here and now, right? Because go down that rabbit hole, and it's not a friendly place if you go down that rabbit hole, right?
No, no,
Yeah,
I
yeah. So how old were you and what is the actual level of your injury? Are you like a C, what, three, four, five?
I I was 17 when I had it,
Okay.
and I had a odontoid fracture, so I snapped my axis. They fused my C1 and 2 together, but I had a disc slip out at C6, I believe,
Okay.
bruising spinal cord,
Yep.
and then I had my spine impacted my brainstem,
Oh
so it
God.
caused a lot of bleeding and cerebellar damage.
Oh, good grief. You really had it going on.
So I think most of my residual now is cerebellar in nature.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. So when you were discharged from inpatient rehab, what sort of shape were you in? Were you walking at the time? Did you have like full movement in all four limbs?
well, yeah, movement, and I'd been up in the parallel bars, so I've been doing some walking and moving, but that's
Hmm.
primarily the wheelchair with
Okay.
a walker to supplement.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. And then where did you go? Did you jump right immediately into doing outpatient rehab?
yeah, yep. I went home, and as I know the one podcast you had with the guy who was a tennis player,
Yeah.
he didn't do rehab to live life; he lived life to do, And I think that after watching that, I said, I think that's what I did.
Yeah.
Because I tried going fishing and find everything I could do that I used to do, and I tried doing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I did outpatient for probably consistently about 2 years.
Yeah.
Good luck getting that nowadays.
Oh man. When you were saying you were at the inpatient place for 3 months and 3.5 months or so. I did close to five. I did four and change. And as I was mentioning now, I work at Kessler in on the SCI floor. And Richie, I'm telling you, if people get 3 weeks or 4 weeks, that's an eternity. These insurance companies are cutting people out. And I mean, I'm talking high quads. I'm talking people on ventilators that they're sending them home to these families that have no idea what the heck they're doing. Like, how are we going to get this person in bed, out of bed, showered, bowel program, clothed, feet? I
Yeah.
mean, their heads are spinning. I don't understand it. I definitely couldn't have done 3 or 4 weeks.
I don't think I could have sorted stuff out in my head in that time.
Yeah,
It
that's
takes
the
you a
other part of
while.
it.
Even if you're not negative, it takes you a while to figure out, what's going on.
Exactly. Which leads me to my next question. What now? You're 17 years old, and all of a sudden now you find yourself in the disabled community. I know you certainly didn't have that on your bingo card for when you were getting out of high school. So what is the plan now? What were you starting to think you were going to do with the here and now, and then the rest of your life?
I know I had to do something, but I said, I'm going to take a year off and see what I can do with my rehab, with, just my mobility and
Hmm.
activity, your mental health. And I know that wasn't such a big thing back then, but I think it was important in these instances.
No doubt.
And so I took about a year off and I did a lot of my stuff I would normally do. I'd spend about 4 or 5 hours in the gym every day. I'd go and just find everything I could do and do it. And then I found a program at the local community college, the laboratory science. I knew I liked science, and I said, okay, well, what is science and what can I do?
Yeah.
Physical therapy didn't seem very doable then. Neither did radiology. So I'm like, I'll go into lab tech. And so that's
Hmm.
what led me in that direction.
Okay. And what are the responsibilities of a laboratory science
Well, I was one of
lab
the
tech
guys,
person?
to analyze, all the blood samples, chemistry, hematology, blood banking. So whenever you was your blood drawn, you'd send them into us, and then we'd
Okay.
run the samples.
Very cool. That's awesome. I never knew about that. How about tell us about I know one thing that's really rough for people in our community. It is for me because I still haven't been able to find anybody. How did you find your wife? And not only that, but now you have three great children. I think it's three, right? Or is it two?
That's three. Yep.
Three. Yeah, tell us. I mean, listen, I'm 58 and I don't necessarily really put myself out there all that much, but it's not easy to do, when you're in our situation. And so
No,
how did,
no.
how did you, how were you able to find your wife and get that all started?
That was funny. The internet was just starting up, and, a lot of people go to chat rooms and talk to people from other places.
Sure.
And I started talking to her in a chat room on Prodigy and
Okay.
talked for about a year. And then we found we really liked each other, in our company. So I said, well, I'll drive out there and see what happens.
Oh boy.
And drove out in August or January and moved out there in May. You know,
Wow. And did you, how soon into your conversations did you tell her, oh, by the way, I'm a C whatever quad, C12 incomplete quad?
I was pretty upfront. She knew I'd had the accident. At the time I was walking I was using
Okay.
a cane, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I didn't use anything, but my gait
Mm-hmm.
was really strained, if you will. It
Funky.
was,
Yeah. That's like me too. Yeah. I like to tell people it isn't easy and it isn't pretty, but it sort of beats the alternative. And when you say you moved out there, where was out there? Where did she live at the time?
we're out in southeastern Massachusetts,
Oh, okay.
about 20 minutes west of Cape Cod.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
was it just like you went out there to meet her for one time or you moved?
I just wanted to meet her, and we'd spent the weekend kind of hanging out, and I thought in my head when I was leaving, I'm like, well,
Mhm.
that's the last time I'm probably ever going to see her again. And hopped in the car, and it's about a 7-hour drive. Drove home, and my mom got my message. She's like, "Hey, Sue called." And
Wow.
so she was calling to check in on me, and then asked if
Oh.
it'd be okay if she came out to visit me the next month.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah,
you really
so
hit it off.
yeah, it was good. We moved out
That's
to
t that's terrific. And how soon after the time you guys came and visited each other, were you engaged and married?
we got engaged the following later in the summer, actually. It was probably about 4 or 5 months after I moved out there. And it's
Okay.
just one of those things you kinda knew.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then we didn't get married until 2003 after we were finishing up school in Florida.
Okay. Okay. And since then, you've had 3 children. Here's a chance to be a proud dad and brag on your 3 kids.
Yes,
Tell
I
us
got
about them. Yeah.
my daughter, she's just entered college. Now she's a sophomore in college down at
Okay.
Florida Gulf Coast, just like us.
Okay.
And, I got 2 boys, middle school and high school, and both really athletic, and I spend most of my free time either driving them to and from practice or sitting at the baseball fields all weekend or soccer.
Oh, that's fun. It's the time of your life, right, Richie?
It keeps me going.
It sure does. Well, here's a question for you. As someone who is probably susceptible to the heat, how do you sit out at those games? Does the heat bother you?
Yeah, it gets tough. Like even this weekend, after day one, I was toast already, and I said, "Oh, shoot, I got at least one more full day to be out there." And
Oh, yeah.
my wife is really good. She always has the towels. You throw them over your shoulders. They're try to stay hydrated, but not too hydrated. So I'm up
Right.
and running.
Yep. Have to
You
go to
know,
the bathroom every 10 minutes. You don't want to have to do that.
yeah. In between games, find a Starbucks or somewhere nice and air conditioned, and go chill for a
Yes.
bit.
Yeah, because I don't know. Have you ever gotten that autonomic dysreflexia? Are you susceptible to that, AD?
I don't know if I've really ever had that. I've
Yeah.
I've had more dehydration episodes. I don't know,
Right.
but I don't know if I'd fall into that category or not. I don't know if you need to
Yeah.
be complete.
Yeah,
Do
that
you-
might be true. Yeah, it either complete or just sort of like a high cervical injury. I think people like sometimes I get blood pressure issues when I get too hot. It's like I get woof. I'm gonna go out. I feel like I'm gonna pass out, sort of a thing. Can you
Mm.
sweat? Does your body sweat?
Oh yeah, I sweat. Sweat. I get messy.
Okay, well that's good. Then you're able to get it out because some of us can't really sweat, so the body just gets so hot and it doesn't have any way to cool itself off. And so I was actually just talking to a friend of mine who's a doctor, and he was actually coming home from a show where he was the guest speaker, and it was like 100 degrees out, and he was on his way back, and the air conditioning broke in the hotel as he was getting ready, and So he said he spent like the next 5 hours, like you were saying, at like a McDonald's, gulping gallons of water and like right next to the air conditioning. He said it's the craziest moment of his life, but he said it was scary because he was like fading in and out of consciousness because he was so hot. It just, yeah, these injuries are so crazy what they can do to all of us. You know, people just think, oh, they had a spinal cord injury, they're paralyzed or whatever, they're just not going to walk again, but they don't realize that there's so much else that goes into it outside of, bowel and bladder and blood pressure and skin and all of
Yeah.
those things. It's sort of like the gift that keeps on giving,
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
multiple
wow.
times I've gotten the, oh yeah, I hurt my back once, or I got a bad knee, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, people try to say, yeah, I know what you're going through, kind of a thing. Boy,
Yeah.
if they only had it so lucky, right?
Yeah.
They
It's
don't
all good.
realize that. So now you were talking about Florida. When did you guys move to Florida? And I know you studied something new when you got to Florida Gulf Coast. So tell us about that.
Yeah, we moved to Florida a year after I moved out to Mass. So it was August 99. We
Okay.
headed down there. And school is so cheap down there. I might as well add to my degree. And I got into something I really liked, environmental studies. And so I was doing a lot of environmental classes, some field work, which
Hmm.
kind of kept me busy and challenged me and challenged my balance and my endurance. I got involved in the mosquito control district and did some research. So I was actually walking through swamps with my walking stick. One of the times during a tropical storm, trying to
Oh,
retrieve my nets.
oh my
But
gosh.
but
So were you wearing like mosquito netting around you so you weren't getting bit all the time?
no, I got bit a lot. I just wear a long sleeve shirt, and I learned to wear pants after the first day I went out. But
Yeah.
yeah, we had the tropical storm. It was the last day of our collection, and the
Gosh.
wind was blowing, and I was wading through, and a tree branch broke off and hit me in the head.
Oh,
I
dear
landed
God.
face down. So
Huh.
my wife, being the person she was, ran to grab the net for me, and then she helped me up.
Oh my gosh. So, and did you have to go to the hospital or you were okay?
No, no, it wasn't that bad. It was just enough to knock me off balance and make me go
That's
swimming.
unbelievable. Boy, you've got quite a story, Richie. What are the cats have 9 lives or so? You're like a cat.
I don't have too many of
Mm.
those left in me,
Yeah,
I
you
think.
still have about 4 or 5, I think. That's still good. And so you were doing that down in Florida Gulf Coast. And then tell us now, how does massage therapy come into the mix? I know that did you start taking some courses in that as well?
Yeah, we got through Florida and I entered grad school with the intention of going for my PhD. But my heart was just not dealing well with the stress of, I was taking classes, I was a TA, and I was researching. My heart just wasn't doing good with it. So I walked away from it and
Hmm.
we decided to go to massage school because I already had a fitness interest.
Yep.
And I signed up for it. And that was, I think, the best 6 months I've physically had since my accident.
Mm. And was that also at Florida Gulf Coast?
No, that was up in Ithaca, New York,
Oh, okay.
back up near where I used to live.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to graduate school up in Syracuse.
Hmm.
So we were close to the Ithaca area and I knew of the school.
Okay.
So it was nothing like getting body work for 6 months straight. And it was great for the body. And I've got a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
tools now I can work with.
Yeah. So you were not only learning how to do it, but they were doing it on you as well. You were getting massage therapy for your body.
Yeah, you're working on each other the whole time.
Oh, maybe that's what I need to do. I'm stiff as a board.
Yeah, well, it's definitely, and I know you'd asked me about that, and it's definitely recommended.
Mm. So
It's a
you have pretty good dexterity with your hands? Like lift up your arms. Let's see. When you do massage therapy, man, look at you. That's pretty good.
Yeah, except this funky finger now. I fell in.
Look at these guys that I'm dealing with. I got fists. I got the fists of fury. With my injury, I'm C3-4. It was incomplete, but I have something called central cord syndrome, and I don't know if you know what that is or if you've ever met any of us rolling around out there. But I found out that the central portion of spinal cords is where your fine motor skills come into effect. So it's
Oh,
arms, hands, and fingers, and so I just bruised the hell out of the interior portion of my cord, and so the doctors told me pretty much from, 2 or 3 weeks in, they said, John, you're going to walk. We know you're going to walk, but you'll have limited to no use of your uppers. Think of yourself as an upside down paraplegic. Your legs will work, but your upper body won't, which is the
mm,
flip side of a para. And boy, Richie, they were pretty spot on from day one.
oh.
I like to tell people over the years I can get up and walk wherever I want to go. I just can't do a damn thing once I get there because I really can't really use these guys. And so it's it's very, very interesting how that is to see that you're able to use your hands and your arms and whatnot. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, and they work pretty good. I'm not going to complain because I saw a whole lot worse, and I know there's a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's what we learned pretty early on, right? I mean, we have it bad, but if you look around the PT room and you'll see some folks that have it a lot worse than we do, right? Those folks on ventilators and they can't breathe on their own. I don't know whether I could have done that sort of a life.
most definitely.
Right.
Do you have any grip on there, or is the
You know what I do is I like to I joke I have a hard time picking something up, but once I pick it up, I can't let go of it. So it's like I've got the Vulcan death grip from Star Trek, I've got yeah, it's they're really hard. I mean, I really have limited like I can pick up this piece of paper because I have the thumbs that'll work for me, but I really don't have too much of anything else. And then, to try and get my arms up, like even to feed myself, I have to grab the spoon in this hand and I have to push up with the left hand to get the get the rest of the fork or the spoon up to my mouth. It's just crazy. Yeah. For me, when I did my rehab, I had never heard of occupational therapy. I don't know about you. I had just always heard of PT, PT, PT. So when they brought me in and they said, "What are your occupational therapists?" I said, "What the heck do you guys need you going to do?" But for me, that happened to be the most important one because, how is John going to feed himself again and dress himself and brush his hair and brush his teeth? And,
Oh
it
yeah.
was, that's where you learn all of that stuff is in the OT room. So that was really where, I made most of my time was with those gals. And so, yeah, it's, all these injuries, no two are the same, right, Richie? I'm sure you've seen people that have similar injuries to yours and they're either better than you are or they're worse off than you are.
Yeah, yeah, and we've always kind of joked because my wife even now is like, you're bad enough, but you're bad, but you're not bad enough. You go into a wheelchair and do wheelchair sports, but my shoulders don't work quite good enough to do that, or
Yeah.
so I'm kind of stuck in the middle. But it's not a bad place to be.
No, yeah, it's funny your wife should say that. My first PT told me, she said, John, you're like too close for comfort because you're almost back to what you were, but you're not. It's like it's that sort of in the middle range there, which and then of course we always used to do with myself and my fellow folks that were inpatients with me at the time. They were mostly those guys were either motorcycle accidents or we had a couple of gunshot victims and they were
Mhm.
all in wheelchairs. And so we used to sit around after dinner, we'd get together and say, okay, how would you like to a couple of guys would say, I want to be like John. I want to walk. I really want to walk again. And I'm like, I want to be like you guys because I want to like pick my nose and work, just do something with my arms or, brush my hair. And so it was like, did you ever think like, hey, I wish it was kind of that or didn't have that kind of thing?
I'm sure there's always fleeting thoughts of different. I'd love to get up and walk without thinking about it, of course, but
Yeah.
there's so many other things I have that are good.
How about the athlete in you? I know that, like myself, I was always going to be involved in playing, like men's softball or basketball with the guys as I was going to get older. Is that something that you being the jock that you were growing up? Is that something that you missed and took a time for you to sort of get beyond all of that?
Yeah, that was a definite a hard pill to swallow. I
Hmm.
When I graduated, I was all signed up to go in the 101st Airborne in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. and
Okay.
I was supposed to play football for the Fort Bragg Dragons. And, I was actually in training for an Ironman as well my senior year.
Hmm.
And yeah, none of that ever got done.
Yeah, but you know what, Richie? I'm sure the fact that you were in such incredible shape really was something that helped you not only at the time of the injury, but afterwards, for your body was in such good shape that it was able to come back as well as it did.
Yeah, you got muscle memory, they say.
Yeah,
If you have the athlete mind, you're used to pushing further than a person who's never done that is used
no
to.
doubt. No doubt. And how about now with your children, especially your boys now that are, baseball players? How is it, obviously going to the games and is probably the greatest thing in the world as a dad, watching your kids play. But how about the fact, I've had other guys on here that say, geez, I can't go in the backyard and have a catch with my son, or I can't, get out and show him how to do X, Y, and Z. And is that something that sort of is in the back of your mind? Like, oh God, I wish I could just do this.
Yeah, I mean, now I got to do some of that stuff when they're younger because I was in a little better shape. Time has already taken a toll, but
Yeah. Yeah.
working with my daughter, who now I've kind of led her, and she's turning into a little bit of a gym rat.
Okay.
And the boys, I from an early age worked with them baseball, and I'd feed them soccer balls, and now not as much, but I
Hmm.
still we set up our driveway goes downhill, so I told my son, I was like, hey, throw a couple of hockey sticks across the driveway. And then I started whipping baseballs down the driveway to him, so getting bad hops, and so
Good.
I'm still figuring out ways to do some.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure they appreciate everything that you can do for them.
Yeah, yeah.
They understand the situation now. They've grown up around you, so they understand.
Yeah, they're I'd like to think they have better perspective than most.
Yeah, without question they do, and they're going to be better human beings for having grown up around you and seeing what real life is all about. Some people just they don't have that in their background. They're being around folks like us, and so it's something that they learn hopefully at a later date when they have a chance to meet people that we're all the same, and some of us just go
Mm.
about doing daily stuff a little bit differently. But so now that leads me to my next question. Tell me, a lifetime of miracles living with living with injury blog that you've been writing over the years. I know it's been on and off, but tell us how that idea came about, and how do you come up with the topics that you decide to write about?
I had a friend who thought I should write a book, and I thought that sounded a little too daunting for me. And the blogs are just starting. A friend of mine just started using this particular blog. So I said, oh, what the heck? I'll write a couple things. I found it was a good way for me to dig back in my memories and keep stuff fresh so I don't forget it. That was my initial, but then as I go along and people will say stuff or I'll think of stuff or I'm watching your podcast and something will trigger my mind. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So I'll put it down there, write about this or write about that. We were walking across the soccer fields one morning. My wife, as there's like 300 kids running around us, she's like, don't you ever just sometimes wish you could run? And immediately I'm like, that's a blog post, and I think I actually have that one up there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and
Absolutely.
so I, as it, I tend I do better when I'm writing. I think I'm more clear headed,
Hmm.
but sometimes, stuff just gets in the way and you lose track of time.
You do. You do. Now, when you get out there or when you get on the computer to do that, are you still able to type with your fingers? Do you use the voice activated stuff on the computer?
I still use my fingers. It's not super pretty, but it's
Yeah,
it's
I
usually
do
more
the
the right hand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I do the with the if I can get these two pointer fingers open, I do banging around with these guys because I
Yeah.
can still hear my OTs. Move it or lose it, John. Move it or lose it.
Yeah.
You don't want to get stuck doing all that other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
yeah.
and it's good. Like you, when I record these shows, for me, it's cathartic because I can get a lot off of my chest, and it's nice talking to someone like you who's on the same team, if you know what I mean. We're
Yeah.
sort of going through the same stuff, and I feel that we can bounce some ideas off of it because we both understand what each other is going through. And I'm glad that you're able to write that, the blog. And who knows, maybe all the blogs could put them together and it can turn into one chapter after another and you'll get that book done after all.
That was kind of my thought was, well, I'll write these and I'll see if there's any organizational, piece to it after the fact.
Hmm. Yeah, why not? Why not? Which will lead us then, Richie, into my final question, which is something that it's an interesting story. It came about. I was waiting in a long hallway at Kessler for a meeting with my doctor. I had had an appointment, and one of my best buds who I grew up with in high school, believe it or not, he had a really severe spinal cord injury also. It's like, geez, these two guys that were such good friends growing up. And his name was Tommy. We used to call him T. So I just said, hey, T, if I could snap my fingers right now and you would be completely able-bodied again, what do you think the first thing you would do would be? And so when I'm looking at him, I can see the smoke starting to pour out of his ears, trying to come up with an answer. I heard from behind me, there was there was a woman that said, I would go out in my garden and plant some trees or plant some flowers. And there was a guy off to my right who said, I'd go into the garage and tinker with the cars that I used to fix. And so I thought, hey, this is a question that for all of us, I'm sure everybody's got a different answer for that. And so I ask you, Richie, what do you think the first thing you would do is if you were completely able-bodied once again?
I thought about this a lot because listening to the different episodes in my head, I go, dang, what and there's always the picking the kids up and doing stuff like that. But I'd never coached one of the kids' teams, like Little League baseball or soccer or anything like that.
Hmm.
So because I never felt confident enough in what I had to offer at that level.
Yeah.
So that would definitely be one. But then something popped in my head last night. It would be find the biggest dang tree around and climb the tree with the kids. You know,
That's awesome.
granted, I'd
It's
probably
a
fall out of it, but
Probably fall out of it and bang your head up a little bit. That's a great answer. Yeah. And I know that everybody has a different one. And I can tell you honestly, Richie, in all my years, I think you were injured in 1990, right? So you have 36 years into this whole thing.
yeah,
Um,
November 24th, 1990.
okay. Well, I'm 34 years in, and for a lot of those 34 years, I was moving around. I was doing really well, but like you now, I'm starting to get the old man stuff creeping in. Like my lower back now is an issue, and my knees from the old sports days are starting to get to me. So on top of the spinal cord injury stuff, all of that other stuff is coming around. So years ago, I would have said, I would throw my earbuds in and go out for a run. But now, I mean, just sort of like an answer, like, geez, if I could just stand in front of the toilet and empty my bladder completely, that would be great. I mean, little simple things that people just don't know anything about. It's evolved over the years. But yeah,
Yeah.
I get you on the coaching or the coaching your kids' teams. I was lucky enough years ago to have a friend from high school that asked me, "Hey, John, I'm going to coach youth basketball, and I'd love to have you come and help me." And I thought, my God, what the heck am I going to do? I can't hold a ball, let alone dribble a ball. And I just thought everybody would be ridiculing me behind my back. But, Richie, it was the best thing I ever did. I got 22 years doing it, and it was so great. The kids just, we wanted to win games. And I told them, you guys are going to have to be my arms and my legs, and we're going to get after it. And it was something that was invaluable for me. And so I could see how that would be something that you would want to do. And who knows, maybe you can still have that chance to do it.
Yeah, I'm still now trying to work as much as I can training them. As
Yeah.
I still hold my strength and conditioning certification.
Hmm.
So I'll try working with them through the summer, make them faster, make them stronger, stuff like that. And my one thought was hopefully I could spin that off to work with them and their friends who they're playing with. I know,
Absolutely.
but that's a long term, kind of
Yeah.
pie in the sky.
Sure, but we got to have those pies in the sky, right? We got to try and reach for those. I've got a couple of ideas like that myself that I'm trying to work through right now. And so, how about lastly, what what does the summer hold for the Redsicker family? Are you going to be in ballparks in towns near you?
Yeah, we got quite a bit of baseball left right now. And then I think as soon as that's over, preseason soccer starts.
Oh, wow.
My one son, he's playing the high school now, so the preseason starts in August or at the end of
Okay.
July. So yeah, we'll be doing baseball tournaments, doing some soccer, and maybe we can squeak a vacation into Fort Myers. That would make my wife extremely happy.
Oh, good. I hope you can do that. That would be great. Fort Myers is beautiful. Oh, wow, that's
Well,
terrific.
what about you? What do you have going for the summer?
You know something? My family has a house down at the Jersey Shore, so I'm hopefully gonna sneak a couple of weekends down there. My sister and her family spend a lot of time there. I don't have any children of my own. I have a niece and nephew that both have just graduated from college in the last couple of years, and so they're grown-ups now, so we can do grown-up things together, which is nice. So hopefully I'll have a chance to get down there and then hopefully continue to record some of these shows and keep adding one to the ledger. I'm up to, I think this episode might be my 100th. I'm going to have to check and see, Richie. You might be my big number there, 100.
Oh
I'll have
man,
to check into it and let you know.
that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really appreciate it. I want to thank you again for listening to the show, and to know that some people are actually benefiting from it and getting something out of it, and hearing some of these stories of people that have taken terrible situations and have gone on to do really amazing things with their lives. And you are certainly one of them. And again, for reaching out and coming on with me today. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and hear your story and share it with my audience.
All right, I appreciate it, John. Thanks for having me.